Hey everybody, I'm Jesse Weber and welcome inside the Spin Room. It's a working title for now. We're gonna see if we change it, but listen, I am excited to have you all with us as we launch this brand new video podcast for Mediaite every Tuesday and Thursday. That's gonna be the plan. We're gonna bring you all the hottest clips from cable news, podcasts, reality TV, the world of sports, because I will tell you, there is a lot out there, and we don't want you to miss what has been happening. What is the dialogue going on right now in the world of media and politics? And I'll tell you what we're also gonna do. We're gonna call out the hyper-partisan spin that has become ingrained in so much of our media on both sides. So from CNN to MSNBC to Fox News, even independent media stars like Candace Owens, Don Lemon, Joe Rogan, we're gonna touch on it all. And most importantly, we're gonna do it while having a little bit of fun, because I will tell you, fun seems to be something that's in short supply on the rage factories that are the major cable news networks. And here in the Spin Room, we're gonna do our part to change that. Now, I will tell you who is having a lot of fun these days. President Donald Trump. Yeah, you can tell he's really been enjoying toying with the media. And I don't just mean his account reposting that Trump Gaza AI video a while back. I wish we actually started this show weeks ago. I could have done like 30 minutes on that alone. But no, I don't just mean that. I mean, look at the play-by-play with journalists and reporters in the White House press corps, more specifically. Definitely keeping them on their toes. And that goes actually to a larger question that I'm going to get into in a minute, but I think you can tell that he's having some fun, because what just happened? What just happened? Did you see that wild photo op with the Tesla on the White House lawn Tuesday where the president went all in on Elon Musk's car?
So what is this one, Elon?
That's the Model Y.
That's a Model Y, so I have a lot of information, including the price.
Yeah.
I want to make a good deal here. You know, I do notice this. They have one, which is $35,000, which is pretty low.
Mr. President, what do I have to do to put you in this car today? I never thought I would see Elon Musk as a car salesman to the President of the United States, but wild times. Now, it is funny because Trump apparently told reporters that he was going to buy the car and make sure his staff at the White House could use it when they saw fit. And we know why he's doing this, right? To help Elon Musk, who's faced a lot of criticism as of late, to help boost Tesla. But here's the other thing. He took reporters out of their comfort zones, right? This is a classic Trump move, and they didn't know how to even deal with all that. What are the rules of engagement with Donald Trump? If you're a reporter, how do you approach him? How do you get answers as to what he's doing or what his administration is doing? He is maybe one of the toughest subjects they've ever covered. I don't know. Ever? He'll take your questions all day, but he's going to do it on his terms and his turf. So I've actually been fascinated with this. I've been really fascinated watching reporters try to adapt, try to get meaningful answers from Trump in unique ways. And that is what I want to focus on today. What is the most effective way to get a serious answer out of this president, out of this administration? Because that's important. That's important. Everybody is trying to get some sense of transparency on what he's thinking, what his administration is doing. Now, some have tried to get a rise out of him. Some have tried to flatter him. Some have asked questions totally out of left field. And I want to talk about all these different methods because some of it seems to be working, some of it not so much. And I want to start with what maybe was perhaps surprisingly the biggest Trump interview of the past few days. The Sunday morning sit down with Fox News' anchor, Maria Bartiromo. Now look, I got to give her credit. Okay, so a lot of critics thought that this would just be a softball interview. I mean, this is Maria Bartiromo. Now, I know her. I've been on her show in the past. I like her. But remember, this is the same Maria Bartiromo who claimed to have sources telling her Trump won the 2020 election. That was one of several comments she made, which cost Fox $787 million in a defamation suit brought by a voting machine company. She also said on air that she was going to personally call the governor of New York to demand the firing of Manhattan District Attorney Alvin Bragg for prosecuting Trump on felony charges. So my expectations went down even further after I saw this moment in the Oval Office right before Bartiromo taped her interview, where she sounded, honestly, you could argue maybe less like a journalist and more like a member of his fan club?
We have a wonderful woman here, Maria Bartiromo.
Thank you so much.
Nice to have you, Maria.
Thank you very much, Mr. President, and thanks for all that you're doing for women.
Thank you.
Okay, putting that to aside, what you think about that, right there, my expectations were dashed. Why? Because I figured that we were in for 30 minutes of, Mr. President, people say your favorite color is blue. Can you tell us more about that? But then you take a step back and you wonder, what if that moment of a parent, kissing up was actually really smart strategy on her part? Because when she actually got Trump in the chair, the tone was totally different. Sure, there were times where it sounded like a softball interview, but there were also several points at which Bartiromo put Trump on the defensive. I want you to check out this exchange specifically, where Bartiromo cornered Trump about his lack of support for Ukraine and on whether he's been inconsistent in his handling of foreign wars.
Are you comfortable with that? The fact that you walked away and Ukraine may not survive?
Well, it may not survive anyway, but, we have some weaknesses with Russia. It takes two. Look, it was not going to happen, that war, and it happened. So now we're stuck with this mess. Think of what he stuck me with. Open borders where we have 21 million people came into our country, many of whom should not be here. Many are criminals. Many are criminals. Many murderers, drug dealers, drug lords. We got that. We have the whole mess with Israel on October 7th. We have all of the ramifications from the worst and dumbest withdrawal in history.
Both Ukraine and Israel were both attacked by aggressors. Is America treating both countries similarly? Are they treating the aggressors similarly?
That's a good question.
I think so. Look, they're very
different. Are you favoring one over the other?
They're very different places, okay? Very, very different. You're talking about different levels of power. You're talking about different parts of the world. The Middle East has been under attack forever. It's been, you look, when wasn't it under attack? And then we came along and did the Abraham Accords, which was unheard of.
Have you been as tough on Russia as you've been on Hamas? I mean, what do you want to say to critics?
Well, I've been much tougher because I haven't done to Hamas. That's been Israel that has to do to Hamas. But Israel does tell me what's going on. I think I've been very tough to Russia. Tougher than anybody's ever been.
I'm not crazy, right? She was asking him some very tough, good questions, and I wonder if he was even expecting that, if he was even ready for that. So did Bartiromo maybe disarm him a little bit by buttering him up at first and then lowering the boom? I mean, her flattery got her in the room. It allows her in there, perhaps allows him to get vulnerable. And it wasn't just a one-off, by the way, because Bartiromo also pressed President Trump on the tanking stock market.
Before you came into the Oval Office the first time, you were a very successful businessman, very successful real estate executive. And a lot of people said, oh, this is the business president. This is it. He's watching the stock market. He knows all about, he doesn't want the market to go down. And now we've got tariffs and the market has been going down.
Well, not much. I mean, in all fairness,
you said, look, we're going to have a disruption, but we're okay with that.
She's pushing back.
Is that what you meant? The stock market going down was the disruption? What other disruption were you alluding to?
Look, what I have to do is build a strong country. You can't really watch the stock market.
Don't look at the stock market. Don't look at it. Don't watch it. Don't watch it. Unless, of course, it's going up, then make sure to watch it. But again, I got to give props to Bartiromo here because she pressed Trump on some very tough, hard issues. And because she has delivered a lot of pro-Trump commentary in recent years, and she disarmed him a little bit with flattery right before the interview, the president seemed much more willing to engage with her, even on the tough stuff. But here's the thing. What happens when you try to ask a hard question without softening the ground a little bit first? Well, Sunday on Air Force One, Michael Birnbaum from the Washington Post found out the hard way.
Disrespecting you by attacking Ukraine when you're trying to make peace there? Is President Putin disrespecting you by attacking Ukraine when you're trying to make peace there?
What did he do?
Well, he's attacking Ukraine.
Is he disrespecting me?
Yeah.
Who are you with?
I'm Michael Birnbaum from Washington Post.
You've lost a lot of credibility.
Wow, even after Bezos said he wants to change the direction of the opinion section and attended your inauguration, still, I don't like the Washington Post. But look, that is a classic Donald Trump tactic there, right? Just completely ignore a question that he doesn't like, going after the person who asked it. Imagine, by the way, if you did that in a job interview, right? Why'd you leave your last company? Stupid question, frankly. You're very rude. You're a failure. Nobody likes you. You should be ashamed of yourself and hire me so I can fire you later on. But look, I have to tell you, I appreciate what Birnbaum was trying to do here. This is my take. Because first off, obviously, he doesn't have that built-in reservoir of goodwill with Trump that Maria Bartiromo does, right? And it was a unique way to frame a hard question. He was like, okay, I want a real answer from Donald Trump about Russia. So if I frame it as Russia disrespecting you by attacking Ukraine, because Trump is very big on disrespect, especially recently with the whole Zelensky debacle, if I do it that way, maybe I'll get an answer. Obviously, it didn't work for him, but I wonder if we're going to see more of this tactic going forward. Now, Birnbaum, he didn't counterpunch, okay? He didn't counterpunch after Trump launched that haymaker at him, but one of his peers in the White House press corps did. On Wednesday, NBC White House correspondent Kelly O'Donnell confronted Trump about his inconsistency, or her question about inconsistency on tariffs or flexibility on tariffs, depending on your perspective on it. But Trump pulled the same trick of going after the reporter. And O'Donnell was ready with a very quick response.
There's been a lot of on and off, some inconsistency.
There's no inconsistency, only with NBC,
No,
which is one of the worst networks on television, by the way. Let me just tell you the inconsistency. I have the right
For a while.
I have the right
The Apprentice.
to adjust. And I was called by the automakers, as an example, General Motors, Ford, etc., the big three, the big four, and they asked me to do them a favor. Could I delay it for a period of 4 weeks so that they're not driven into a little bit of a disaster for them? They actually love what I'm doing, but they had a problem. And I'm not like a block that just, I won't delay. It's called flexibility. It's not called inconsistency. It's called flexibility. And I think you want me to be flexible too.
Is flexibility going to be your ongoing view towards?
Sure, I'll always have
Okay, so that
flexibility.
retort didn't seem to faze Trump that much. But my first thought was, she went in ready with a response. Instead of getting totally caught off guard when he comes after her, and you wonder if the idea would be, if I'm a counterpuncher, if I'm clever enough with a response, how would Trump react to that? And you know what? I don't know if it was because of that comeback or not, or even if he heard it, but it almost seemed like it got Trump's respect a little bit, didn't it? No? Because he actually gave her a substantive answer. This new April 2nd tariff deadline, it's now movable too, apparently. It was a real window into Trump's thinking on this, where it sure seems like he's just going to keep pushing the deadline and not actually put these tariffs into effect. So, because maybe this sort of worked, and I don't really remember seeing it that much in the past. I mean, he didn't just move on to someone else, you're fake news, moving on to somebody else. I wonder if you're going to see some more combative reporters not afraid to go right back at Trump, maybe in a more of a lighter tone or whatnot. I mean, she wasn't necessarily rude. She said it was his home because of The Apprentice. So it's going to be interesting to watch how that unfolds. Will it be good for this show? Absolutely. And we will cover it. Now, in the same press engagement with the Prime Minister of Ireland, we saw yet another tactic on display, but this time from far-right reporter of Real America's Voice, Brian Glenn. Now, he has already had a few viral moments already in Donald Trump's first 50 days, because you might remember he was the reporter who asked Ukrainian President Vladimir Zelensky why he didn't wear a suit to the White House.
Why don't you wear a suit? Why don't you wear a suit? You're at the highest level in this country's office, and you refuse to wear a suit. Just want to see if do you own a suit?
It's always good to get some hard-hitting questions in there. Now, on Wednesday, this same guy, Brian Glenn, he asked the Irish Prime Minister a question that was clearly meant to get Trump fired up.
Ireland is known for very happy, fun-loving people, great attitude, many in this room right now that I've met. Why in the world would you let Rosie O'Donnell move to Ireland? I think she's going to lower your happiness level.
That's true. Thank you. I like that question. Do you know you have Rosie O'Donnell? Do you know who she is? Do you know who she is?
Yeah.
You're better off not knowing.
Honestly, in a way, I thought that was brilliant, okay? I mean, what is the name of the game in media, right? Make waves, get answers, get clicks. Posing that question, you got to imagine he knew what he was doing. That is a guaranteed response every time from Donald Trump. You bring up Rosie O'Donnell, you don't think he's going to light up? There is no love lost there. By the way, did you know that Trump's feud with the former View host goes back almost 20 years. That is a long feud. This is a grudge that has lasted so long that it's basically old enough to have a driver's license at this point. But somehow, I don't know, I don't see it ending anytime soon. But let's be clear about something, okay? Glenn wasn't trying to elicit any real information or answers, anything of substance from Donald Trump or the Irish Prime Minister. That's clear. He just wanted to tee it up for him. It was a bit of trolling, to be sure, yeah. But that question got Trump animated. You could tell that. And that might benefit other reporters asking the tough stuff. So maybe that's a strategy you could see repeated. Bring up a person or a topic you know will get him fired up, and it will make waves for you. Now, as we saw at the top of the show, he was pretty fired up to sell some cars for Elon Musk on Tuesday. But Fox News correspondent Peter Doocy, again, Fox News, who I've got to say has been pretty great, pretty tough on this new administration so far. He's done a really good job. He was there to kind of rein in on the Tesla parade. And he went about it a little differently than some of the other reporters who had asked hard questions, because his question really was more of a statement, and it was one that Trump was certain not to like.
What is your message, President Trump, buying a new car while there are some folks who will see this clip at home and they are struggling with their retirement accounts down at the moment, uncertainty about work ahead?
Well, I think they're going to do great. I think our country had to do this. We had to go and do this. They've taken away, other countries have taken away our business. They've taken away our jobs. I did it initially very strongly against, as you know, China and some others in the first term. And it was a very successful term. We had no inflation. We had the greatest economy in the history of our country.
Just totally calling out the optics there. It is a gutsy question from Doocy. But again, it's a question that was more of a statement, and Trump responded with a statement of his own. He kind of reverted into the Trump speech mode a little bit. So I'm not sure how effective that was in the short term, but in the long term, like Kelly O'Donnell, Doocy is showing Trump that he's no pushover. The sternly framed question took Trump, it looked like it did, took him out of his comfort zone. And even though it didn't, necessarily pay off with an answer that he might have been looking for, that was key. Right there, I could totally see it paying dividends down the road. And by the way, speaking of taking Trump out of his comfort zone, one of Trump's cabinet members got taken way out of his comfort zone this week for an interview. Again, the theme here about how do you elicit information from Trump or his administration? Defenses down. Make sure those defenses are down, because did you see what happened with Health and Human Services Secretary Robert F. Kennedy Jr.? So he sat down with Fox News host Sean Hannity, and they didn't sit at a desk. No, they sat down at a table full of artery-clogging food that got RFK, who is a well-established health nut, to what looked like visibly recoil. Check this out.
66% of adults, 38% of teens, and we'll put this up on the screen, they have prediabetes.
I didn't order
that. You did not order that. We'll just put it looks great. I'm sure one of our guys. Would anyone like a free shake? Anyone? We got to be somebody in here.
He actually looked afraid of it. He actually looked afraid of it. Get away from me. Get away from me. Now, apparently, here's the thing. The steak and shake chain decided to move into cooking with beef tallow. So still, you're seeing the top federal health official who works out all the time trying to make America healthy again, eat this stuff or be around this stuff. It's like telling Superman to play with a ball of kryptonite. Is he just like dying on the inside being there? Yeah, these fries are great. These fries are great. Now look, on one hand, it is fun for Hannity to get RFK there. It creates a better sense of what he's trying to do for the country, why. It's a better way to get transparency, understand what's happening, agree or disagree with the actual policy. And RFK seems to be saying, okay, maybe I can't get everyone off hamburgers and french fries, but at least they're cooking in beef tallow. Okay, at least I'll meet in the middle with you all. I'll find some common ground. And again, going back to our topic, it appears that is exactly what the White House reporters, the media, seem to be doing right now as they try to figure out how to best communicate with Trump and the administration. They are trying to relate to them. They're trying to better understand them. They're trying to find common ground. And that is commendable. It is the best way to build a meaningful relationship for the next 4 years. But sometimes that meeting of both sides, it just doesn't work.
but we talked about a lot of the values that I hold so close to my heart. Making this decision, my mind is telling me I can't.
That, of course, was from the hit Netflix show Love is Blind. It's actually, by the way, a great show. It's a guilty pleasure of mine. I watch it a lot. I could actually talk for 30 minutes about Jimmy and Chelsea in season 6 and what a disaster that was, but different show, different time. Anyway, this is the dating show where people talk to potential mates through a wall and get engaged before they ever lay eyes on each other, as one normally does. Now, that clip went viral because the bride, Sarah Carton, left her groom, Ben Mazenga, at the altar, not because their families didn't get along, not because someone cheated, because apparently she didn't like his politics. Okay, so yeah, for those of us who watched that show, we knew that that relationship was pretty much doomed from the jump. But by the way, why did you go through all of that courtship, all of that time, invite friends and family to a wedding knowing those differences? Look, I am all for finding common ground, okay? But come on, you didn't have to go that far. Now, as for finding common ground between Donald Trump and journalists, there may be some hope for that just yet. They just have to figure out how to communicate. Thanks for stopping by the Spin Room, or at least that's what we're calling it for now. I'm Jesse Weber. I'll see you next time.